In the last 4 lessons, we discussed several methods of factoring algebraic expressions. In this lesson, we will use those factoring skills to solve higher degree equations. Now, what are higher degree equations? What is the degree of an equation? The degree of an equation is the highest power of the variable. For example, you have an equation like this: 4x squared minus 2x plus 3 equal to 0. This is a second degree equation. We will now use the method of factoring to solve equations of this form, higher degree equations, equations that contains higher powers of the variables. Well, let's see what that method is. Consider the equation a times b equal to 0. Well, a is one factor, b is another factor. A times b stands for the product of two factors. Now, the product of two factors is given to be equal to 0. Now, when will this become 0? If a equal to 0, then 0 times b will be equal to 0. So, a times b equal to 0 will become true when a equal to 0. Now, it can also become true when b equal to 0. If b equal to 0, a times 0 will be 0. So what is the conclusion? A times b equal to 0 means that either a equal to 0 or b equal to 0, or both a and b equal to 0. That means if you are given that the product of two or more factors equal to 0, it means that each of that factor can be equal to 0. So once again, if one factor multiplied by another factor is given to be equal to 0, it means that each of the factors can be equal to 0. Now, this is called the zero factor property. Now, we are going to use the zero factor property to solve equations that are of higher power. Now, what is a quadratic equation? A quadratic equation is an equation of the second degree. We will not only solve quadratic equations, we will also solve third degree equations, fourth degree equations, and so on, using the zero factor property. Now tell me, what do you understand by zero factor property? What is zero factor property? Alright, the zero factor property is this. If you are given that one factor multiplied by another factor equal to 0, that means each of this factor can be equal to 0. And that is the zero factor property. We are now going to use it to solve equations that contains higher powers of the variables. Well, I want you to take note of this. To solve a polynomial equation using the zero factor property, we are going to use few steps. And I want you to take note of those steps. Step 1. Move all the terms of the equation to the left side, making the right side 0. But you know that if you have an equation, terms can be moved from one side to the other by changing their sign. I hope you remember that. Okay, so what is the first step that you need to do in solving equations that contains higher power? Move all the terms from the right side to the left side. And what will be the right side then? The right side is 0. Now, we need to have the right side 0 because ultimately we are going to write one factor multiplied by another factor equal to 0. We are going to use the 0 factor property. Now, to make that possible, we need to make the right side of the equation 0 by moving every term on the right side to the left side. Second step, simplify the left-hand side by combining all like terms. Sometimes you may need to distribute. Sometimes you may need to multiply two algebraic expressions. Whatever you need to do, simplify the left-hand side and then combine all like terms. And then factor the left side. The left side must be the product of some factors. Factor the left side. And now what do you have? The equation now looks like the product of some factors on the left and the right side equal to 0. And the next step is you set each factor to 0. Factor the left side, and there is one more step there. That step is set each factor to 0. I'm going to write that down for you. Step 4 will be set each factor to 0 and solve for the variable. And solve for the variable. That is an important step. That is the 0 factor property. So after factoring the left side, what do? Set each factor to 0 and solve for the variable. Now, once you solve, you can check the solution in the original equation. And equations that contains the higher powers of the variable will have more than one solutions. We're going to see as we move on. Okay, so remember to follow these steps. Let's go through that step one more time. Move all the terms of the equation to the left side, making the right side 0. Then simplify the left-hand side and combine all like terms. And then you are ready to factor the left side. And once the left side contains only factors, take each factor and set it equal to 0. Set each factor to 0 and solve for the variable. And finally, check the solutions in the original equation. All right, let's go. All right, let's solve this equation. X plus 3 times x minus 5 equal to 0. You see, if you look at this, many of the steps have already been done. The right side is 0. The left side is already factored. So what do you do here? The left side is x plus 3 is one factor. X minus 5 is the second factor. X plus 3 times x minus 5 equal to 0. So we can now go to step number 4. What is that? Take each factor, set it equal to 0 and solve for the variable. We set each factor to 0 and solve for x. What is the first factor? The first factor is x plus 3. So x plus 3 equal to 0. Now, this is a linear equation. What is a linear equation? A linear equation is an equation that contains the first power of x. X plus 3 equal to 0 is a linear equation. How do you solve for x? Well, move the positive 3 from left to right. Alright, moving positive 3 from left to the right side, we get x equal to negative 3. That is one solution. Well, we have one more solution by setting the second factor to 0. X minus 5 equal to 0 gives you, what is the value of x? How do you solve it? Move negative 5 from the left to the right. When a negative 5 moves from left to right, it will become positive 5. That gives me x equal to 5. Now, you have two values of x that will make this equation a true statement. X equal to negative 3 is a solution of this equation. X equal to 5 also is a solution of the equation. Now, this is the difference between solving linear equations and solving equations of high degree. A linear equation has only one solution, whereas an equation like this, if you multiply this out, you know this is a second degree equation. A second degree equation has two solutions. A third degree equation will have three solutions. A fourth degree equation will have 4 solutions, and so on. We will see as we go on. Alright, so there are two solutions for this equation, and x equal to negative 3 and x equal to 5 are both solutions of the equation. Now look at the way we write it. X equal to a set of negative 3 and 5. This is called the solutions set. The solution is a set of numbers. What are the elements of that set? Negative 3 and 5. So read it like this. X equal to a set of negative 3 and 5. Alright, let's do another one. Solve x times x plus 2 equal to 0. Now here again, most of the steps are already done. The right side is 0, the left side is already factored. How many factors are there on the left side? There are 2 factors. What are they? X is one factor, x plus 2 is the other factor. So what do we do to solve this equation? Set each factor to 0. So x is the first factor and x plus 2 is the second factor. Alright, setting the first factor to 0, set x equal to 0. Well, that gives you one value of x. X equal to 0 is one value. Now, setting the second factor to 0, let's now set the second factor to 0. X plus 2 equal to 0. Now, how do you solve for x here? Move the positive 2 to the right, and that will give you x equal to negative 2. If x plus 2 equal to 0, that gives me x equal to negative 2. So, what are the solutions of this equation? X equal to 0 is a solution. X equal to negative 2 is also a solution. There you are. X equal to 0 and x equal to 2. X equal to negative 2. So please make that change. X equal to negative 2. X equal to 0 is the solution. X equal to negative 2 is the solution. and therefore the solution set is x is a set of 0 and -2. Okay, it's not simple? Alright, let's go and look at another one. Let's solve another equation. Solve 5x times x plus 6 equal to 0. Well, is it different from the previous problem? Here again, most of the steps are already done. The right hand side is 0 and the left hand side is already factored. Now, how many factors are there? 5 is a factor, x is a factor, and x plus 6 is a factor. But the first factor 5, can 5 be 0? No. So we don't bother about it. Alright, the second factor is x, and that can be 0, and therefore setting that equal to 0 gives me x equal to 0. Now, from now on, if you get a term like, say, 5x or 3x, we will treat it as a single factor. Now, look at this. If we have 5x equal to 0, the only way 5x can be equal to 0 is that x equal to 0. So we can treat this 5x as a single factor. Setting 5x equal to 0, 5x can be 0 only and only when x equal to 0, because 5 cannot be 0. So if 5x equal to 0, it means x equal to 0. 10y equal to 0 means y equal to 0. 1.2p equal to 0 means that p equal to 0. And so on. We will be using this as we move on. Well, the third factor is x plus 6. And setting the factor x plus 6 equal to 0 gives you what? X plus 6 equal to 0. Solve for x from here. What do? Move the plus 6 to the right side. You get x equal to -6. So what are the solutions of this equation? X equal to 0 is a solution. X equal to -6 also is a solution. Therefore, the solution set is x is a set of 0 and -6. You can see I keep dropping that negative sign. So make that negative sign in there. X is a set of 0 and -6. Okay, let's now go and do another one. Solve 3y squared equal to -24y. Alright, now here we need to start from the first step. What is the step 1 I gave you that you must do in solving equations like this? Move terms from the right to the left and make the right side 0. So the first thing to do is move the -24y from the right side to the left side. When the -24y moves to the left, it will become +24y. Alright? So we got 3y squared plus 24y. Take care of that sign. When the -24y moves to the left, it becomes +24y. So you have 3y squared plus 24y equal to 0. We have done the first step. What is the second step? The second step is simplify the left-hand side. Well, the left-hand side is already simplified. There is nothing more you can do to simplify it. What is the third step? Factor the left-hand side. Can you factor the left-hand side? Well, can you find common factors? 3y squared plus 24y is the left-hand side. What is the common factor there? Look at this. 3 and 24. 3 is the common factor because 24 is 8 times 3. And between y squared and y, there is a y common. So the greatest common factor in these two terms is 3y. Let's factor the 3y outside. Factoring out 3y, can you write this by factoring out 3y? Now, when 3y is factored out, what is left in the first term is a y. And when 3y is factored out from 24y, what is left there is an 8. If you have doubt, try and multiply. 3y times y is 3y squared. 3y multiplied by 8 is 24y. So, factoring out the common factor 3y gives you 3y times y plus 8 equal to 0. And now we have done 3 steps. What is the 4th step? Set each factor to 0. Alright? As I told you earlier, when you have quantities like this 3y or 5x or 12p, we will treat it as a single factor. So, setting 3y equal to 0, when will 3y become 0? 3y can become 0 only when y equal to 0. I hope you understand. 3 times 0 equal to 0. So the value of y is 0. So we got one value of y. Let's now set the second factor to 0. The second factor is y plus 8. When y plus 8 is equal to 0, what is the value of y? Well, move the positive 8 from the left to the right. That will give you y equal to negative 8. Therefore, the two solutions are y equal to 0 and y equal to negative 8. The solution set, y is a set of, listen to the way I read it, y is a set of 0 and negative 8. Okay, let's look at another equation. Solve a squared plus 6a plus 5 equal to 0. A very good equation. Now, this is a quadratic equation. What did I say a quadratic equation is? A quadratic equation is an equation of the second degree. Now, what is the variable here? The variable is a. Well, you can see a quadratic equation is a trinomial. Now, the first step is done there. The right side is 0. The second step is also done. There is nothing more to simplify there. We go straight to the third step. What is the third step? Factor the left-hand side. Alright, the left-hand side is a trinomial. Can you factor this trinomial? A squared plus 6a plus 5. Can you factor that? It's a very simple thing to do. Why? Because all the terms are positive and the coefficient of the first term is 1, and what all you need to do is look at the middle term, 6a. 5 plus 1 equal to 6. Now, therefore, we factor our first term, a squared, as a times a, and we write them side by side. The last term is 5, you see, and all of them are positive. Therefore, 5 will be factored as positive 5 times positive 1. I hope you remember the rules we discussed on factoring quantities like this. Write 5 and 1 like this. And now, positive 1 times a added to positive 5 times a. Look at this. 5a plus a is 6a. That's what I told you. 5 plus 1 equal to 6. So 5a plus 1a equal to 6. And therefore, what are the factors of the trinomial? The factors of this trinomial are a plus 5 times a plus 1. And now, write down the equation using the factors. What does the equation now become? The equation now becomes a plus 5 times a plus 1 equal to 0. We have now on the left side 2 factors. What do we do to solve this equation? Set each factor to 0. Set each factor to 0. Alright, let's do that. A plus 5 times a plus 1 equal to 0. We will set each factor to 0. We will get, setting the first factor a plus 5 equal to 0 gives you what value of a? A will be negative 5. Move the positive 5 to the right. So a equal to negative 5. Well, now let's set the second factor to 0. A plus 1 equal to 0 will give you what value of a? A equal to negative 1. So the two solutions are a equal to negative 5 and a equal to negative 1. And therefore the solution set is a is a set of negative 5 and negative 1. That means both these values of a will make this equation a true statement. Okay, let's now do another equation. Solve b times b minus 2 equal to 48. Well, we've got to now go through all the steps in here. First of all, before we move the right side to the left, let's multiply the left-hand side. That will be easier. You see, the left-hand side exists as 2 factors. Well, you cannot keep it as 2 factors. Why? Because the right side is not 0. So first of all, you need to multiply the left-hand side. Now, what do you get if you multiply b times b minus 2? What do you get? B times b is b squared. B times negative 2 is negative 2b. So multiplying the left-hand side gives us b squared minus 2b, and that is equal to 48. Okay, now we are ready to move the right side, move the 48 from the right to the left to make the right side 0. Let's do that. Move positive 48 to the left. It will go to the left, become negative 48. So your equation now is b squared minus 2b minus 48 equal to 0. Well, the left side now is a trinomial. Can you factor this trinomial? I would expect you to be able to do that without any trouble. The coefficient of b squared is 1. That makes it very simple. The last term is negative, which means when you factor the last term, one factor will be positive and the other will be negative, because only a positive number multiplied by a negative number will give you a negative number. And now look at the middle term, negative 2. So the question you got to ask when you want to factor negative 48. 48 can be factored in many ways. 24 times 2, 12 times 4, is that right? 8 times 6. There are many ways to do that. Now, what is the clue here? The clue is the middle term. When you, if you remember, when you multiply and add, you must get the middle term. So the question you can ask here is, what two numbers will multiply to give you negative 48 and when added to give you negative 2? Can you find two numbers that when multiplied gives you negative 48 and when added gives you negative 2? It's very simple. Well, how about these two numbers? Look at these two numbers. Negative 8 and positive 6. You see, negative 8 multiplied by positive 6 is negative 48. And negative 8 added to positive 6 is negative 2. So negative 48 needs to be factored as negative 8 times positive 6. Alright, let's start with the first term. B squared can only be factored in one way. B squared is not B. It must read B squared. B squared equal to B times B. Alright? So make that correction there. B squared, the first term, is B times B. And let's write it side by side. B times B. And what did we say we are going to do to negative 48? How is negative 48 factored? Negative 48 is negative 8 times positive 6. You understand the argument we use for that. Alright? Negative 8 and positive 6. Does it matter where you write negative 8 and positive 6? No. Why not? Because both factors of the first term are B. And therefore, whether you write negative 8 here or here, it makes no difference. Alright, let's multiply. Positive 6b added to negative 8b is negative 2b. So it is well done. We will pick our factors. What are the factors? B minus 8 is one factor. B plus 6 is the other factor. So this trinomial is factored as B minus 8 times B plus 6, and that is equal to 0. We have now done 3 steps. What is the fourth step? The fourth step is set each factor to 0. Alright, set B minus 8 equal to 0. Let's set B minus 8 equal to 0. What does it give you as the value of B? B minus 8 equal to 0 gives you B equal to 8. And now set the second factor to 0. B plus 6 equal to 0. What is the value of B from there? B equal to negative 6. So the two solutions are B equal to 8 and B equal to negative 6. B is a set of negative 6 and 8. Okay, that was a good equation. You must learn how to do that. Another one. X cubed equal to negative 19x squared plus 42x. This is a third degree equation. The highest power is 3. Tell me, what is the first thing that you will do to solve this? Well, go through each step. Move all terms from the right to the left. Make the right side 0. So let's move negative 19x squared. When negative 19x squared is moved to the left, it will become positive 19x squared. When positive 42x is moved to the left, it will become negative 42x. So you have x cubed plus 19x squared minus 42x equal to 0. We have done the first step. We moved all the terms from the right side to the left side and made the right side 0. What is the next step? Our next step is simplify the left hand side. Is there anything to simplify there? No. Alright, what's the third step? Factor the left side. Now, can you factor this expression x cubed plus 19x squared minus 42x? What is it that you look for when you want to factor an expression? The first thing to look for is, are there any common factors? Is there a common factor in these three terms? X cubed, 19x squared, minus 42x. X is a common factor. So factor out x, the common factor. When x is factored out, what is left in the first term is an x squared. What is left in the second term is plus 19x. And when x is factored out, what is left in the third term is minus 42. So you have x times x squared plus 19x minus 42 equal to 0. Now, is the factoring complete? No. We have only done the first step in factoring, that is, we factored out the common factor. Now, what you see inside the parenthesis is a trinomial. We need to factor that. Now factor the trinomial. And how do you factor that trinomial? The first term is x squared. We factor x squared as x times x. Alright? How do you factor the negative 42? Negative 42. Remember, a negative number can be factored only as a positive number times a negative number. Now, the middle term is positive 19. That means you need to find two numbers which, when multiplied, will give you negative 42. And when added, will give you positive 19. Obviously, it means the bigger number that you choose will be positive and the smaller number will be negative. You see, there's a big clue there. 42. 42 is 21 times 2, right? Yes. And 21 minus 2 is 19. You see how simple it is? So what are the factors of negative 42? The factors of negative 42 must be positive 21 times negative 2. Well, let's write x and x side by side. Negative 42 is factored as positive 21 times negative 2. I hope you understood the rationale for it. Why? Positive 21 multiplied by negative 2 is negative 42. And positive 21 added to negative 2 is positive 19. Let's write those numbers here. Alright, look at this. Negative 2x added to 21x. What is the result? Negative 2x added to 21x is positive 19x, our middle term. So this is the right distribution of factors. So what are the factors now? The first factor is x plus 21. And the second factor is x minus 2. So the factors are x plus 21 times x minus 2. Now, These two factors are the factors of this trinomial. That means, what does this whole equation now become? It will become x times, remember that is the common factor, x times x plus 21 times x minus 2 equal to 0. So that is now the equation, x times x plus 21 times x minus 2 equal to 0. How many factors are there on the left side? There are 3 factors, and we need to set each of the factors to 0 and solve for x. How many values of x would you expect to get here? This is a third degree equation. A third degree equation has 3 solutions, and each factor, when you set it equal to 0, will give you 1 solution for x. Alright, let's go and do that. Alright, set each factor to 0. The first factor is x. Setting that equal to 0 will give me x equal to 0. That is the first value of x. Alright, let's now take the second factor, x plus 21 equal to 0. What is the value of x from here? Move positive 21 to the right. It will give you x equal to negative 21. And now set the third factor to 0. X minus 2 equal to 0 gives you what value of x? X equal to 2. So there are 3 values or 3 solutions for x in this equation. And they are x equal to 0, x equal to negative 21, and x equal to 2. What is the solution set? X is a set of negative 21, 0, 2. Now look at the way I write a set. When I write a set of numbers, I write the lowest first, and then the next biggest, and the largest. Now it must be written in the order from left to right. X is a set of negative 21, 0, 2. Alright, let's go and do another one. Solve 18z cubed equal to 15z squared plus 12. This is a very similar equation like the one we just did. What is the first thing to do? Move the terms from the right to the left. 15, are you watching me? 15z squared will move to the left, becomes negative 15z squared. Positive 12z will move to the left, becomes negative 12z. And the right side will be 0. So you have 18z cubed minus 15z squared minus 12z equal to 0. We have now done step 1. The right side is made 0. And now, is there any simplification you need to do on the left? No. Alright, third step is factor the left side. Can you factor the left hand side? What is the first thing to do in factoring? The first thing to do is look for common factors. Now, what is the common factor in these 3 terms? 18z cubed minus 15z squared minus 12z. Look at the numbers first. 18, 15, 12. Is there a common factor for all these 3 numbers? Yes. What is that number? 3. 3 is common. Z cubed, z squared, z. Z is common. So what is the greatest common factor? The greatest common factor is 3z. Alright, let's factor 3z out. Can you do that in your mind? After taking out 3z from 18z cubed, what is left there? Well, when the factor 3 is removed, there is a 6 left there. 6 times 3 is 18. When the factor z is removed, there is a z squared there. So this will be 6z squared. After removing 3z, what is left in the second term? Minus 5z. Is that right? Now, after removing 3z from minus 12z, you will be left with a minus 4. Is that right? Yes. So 3z is factored out, leaving a 6z squared minus 5z minus 4, and that is equal to 0. Now we have factored the common factor out. What is inside the parenthesis is a trinomial. Let's factor that trinomial. Now 6z squared can be factored as 3z times 2z. No problem there. Write 3z and 2z. Now the last term is negative 4. You need to factor it as the product of a positive number and a negative number. You need to do it by trial and error. Look at the way. Negative 4 is the same as negative 4 times positive 3. Now, you need to decide where to write that negative 4. You see, the negative 4, are we going to write it below 3z or below 2z? Now, you must form mental pictures. Look at this. Look at the way I'm going to think about it. I'm going to say negative 4 times 2z is negative 8z, and positive 1 times 3z is positive 3z, and negative 8z added to positive 3z gives me a negative 5z. You see, your guiding principle must be that middle term. So we write that negative 4 below 3z so that the negative 4 gets multiplied by 2z. We need a bigger negative number, and the positive 1 over here. Let's multiply. Positive 1 times 3z is positive 3z. Negative 4 times 2z is negative 8z. So positive 3z added to negative 8z is negative 5z, the middle term. And so what are the factors? The factors are 3z minus 4 is the first factor, and 2z plus 1 is the second factor. And these two factors are the factors of this trinomial. And therefore the whole equation now becomes what? The whole equation now is 3z times, this trinomial is now replaced by its factors. 3z minus 4 times 2z plus 1 equal to 0. Now we have factored the left hand side. We go to the next slide and now set each factor to 0. Well, first factor is 3z. Setting 3z equal to 0, tell me, if 3z equal to 0, what is the value of z? Z equal to 0. The only way 3z can be equal to 0 is that z equal to 0. Alright, let's take the second factor and set it equal to 0. 3z minus 4 equal to 0. Can you solve for this? Move the negative 4 to the right side. It gives you 3z equal to 4. And how do you solve for z? Divide both sides by 3. And that will give you z equal to 4 over 3. You must be well versed with these techniques now. If 3z equal to 4, dividing both sides by 3 gives you z equal to 4/3. Alright, now let's go and set the third factor to 0. 2z plus 1 equal to 0. Alright, can you solve for z from here? Move the positive 1 to the right, gives me 2z equal to negative 1. And now divide both sides by 2, and that will give me z equal to negative 1 over 2, negative 1/2. So the three solutions are z equal to 0, z equal to 4/3, and z equal to negative 1/2, and that is the solution set. Okay, let's do another one. Solve x minus 4 all squared minus 4 equal to 0. Well, the right hand side is already 0, so you don't need to worry about it. The first step is done. What is the second step? The second step is simplify the left hand side. We need to do a simplification here. What is the first thing to do? We need to expand this x minus 4 all squared. X minus 4 all squared is x minus 4 times x minus 4. Or there is a better way. Yes, I didn't see that actually. There is a better way. Can you see the left hand side is the square of a quantity minus 4 can be written as 2 squared. So it is x minus 4 squared minus 2 squared. There you are. So the left hand side can be written as x minus 4 squared minus 2 squared. Can you tell me, how do you factor the difference of two squares? The difference of two squares is factored as the sum of the two numbers multiplied by the difference of the two numbers. Alright, the sum of the first quantity is x minus 4, the second quantity is 2. The sum of x minus 4 and 2 is x minus 4 plus 2. The difference of the two quantities is x minus 4 minus 2. Once again, the difference between the two squares, x minus 4 squared minus 2 squared, is factored as the sum of the two quantities, x minus 4 plus 2 multiplied by the difference of the two quantities, x minus 4 minus 2. Alright, simplify in each parenthesis. In the first parenthesis, minus 4 plus 2. What is minus 4 plus 2? It's minus 2. So this parenthesis is actually x minus 2. And inside the second parenthesis, minus 4 minus 2. Adding two negative numbers gives you negative 6. Therefore, the left hand side when factored is x minus 2 times x minus 6. And it's a very neat way to factor it. And so what is the equation? These two factors belong to the left hand side and the right hand side is 0. So the equation is x minus 2 times x minus 6 equal to 0. Right now we are home. Step 4, set each factor to 0. Set x minus 2 equal to 0. That's very simple. X equal to 2. And now set x minus 6 equal to 0 will give you x equal to 6. So the two solutions are x equal to 2 and x equal to 6. Okay. X is a set of 2 and 6. Well, we've done a variety of equations. I want you to go back and practice all this. Solving equations like this is a prime skill in learning algebra. So you must take pride in knowing how to solve these kind of equations. Let's do another one. Solve a minus 1 times 3a plus 2 equal to 4a. But you might look at that and say, well, the left hand side is already factored, so I don't need to do anything there. Well, that will be true if the right side is 0. But our right side is not 0. And so you need to simplify the left hand side. Now what is it that you need to do first? Multiply the left hand side. Can you multiply the two binomials? A minus 1 times 3a plus 2. Look at the way I multiply there. I'm sure you know how to do it very well. A times 3a, there you are, plus a times 2. We finished multiplying by a, and now multiply by negative 1. Negative 1 times 3a minus 1 times 2. That is the left hand side. And the right hand side equal to 4a. I hope you understood that multiplication. You are supposed to understand it. First multiply both of the terms of the second binomial by a. A times 3a plus a times 2. Then multiply both of these by negative 1. Minus 1 times 3a minus 1 times 2 equal to 4a. Alright? That will be 3a squared plus 2a minus 3a minus 2, alright, equal to 4a. Now simplify the left hand side again. Before that, let's move the 4a. Move the 4a from the right to the left. And you get 3a squared plus 2a minus 3a, and the 4a moves from the right to the left to become minus 4a minus 2 equal to 0. And that is 3a squared, add all the like terms. You see? Plus 2a minus 3a minus 4a is minus 5a. Add the two negatives. 4 plus 3 is 7. Negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5. We are now ready to factor the left hand side. Factor the left hand side. 3a squared is factored as 3a times a. There you are. And negative 2 is factored as positive 1 times negative 2. Positive 1 times negative 2. Why? Negative 2 times 3a is negative 6a. Added to a is negative 5a. So the factors are, there you are, negative 6a plus a is negative 6a, which works out to be our middle term. So what are the factors? 3a plus 1 is the first factor. A minus 2 is the second factor. And that equal to 0. We have now factored the left hand side. Okay, now set each factor to 0. 3a plus 1 equal to 0. Can you solve for a from there? Move that positive 1 to the right side. 3a equal to negative 1. Divide both sides by 3. You get a equal to negative 1/3. Set the second factor to 0. A minus 2 equal to 0 gives a equal to 2. That means the two solutions are a equal to negative 1/3 and a equal to 2. Well, I think we have done enough number of problems in solving equations, and you must do all the questions in the homework. Now, as many as you can, because the more you do, the more experience you get. Now remember, you will be taking a final exam and an exit exam. That means all the skills of factoring and solving equations needs to be refreshed continuously. Alright? Okay, I'm going to stop this lesson here. I will get back to you with some application problems a little later. Okay, I will see you for that a little while later.